Chapter 50-79. What they did not expect was that not only were they besieged, but even the heavenly pill building where Du Fan and the others were at was also being attacked. The pill building was almost completely destroyed. Qi Kong and Wei Feng, who were guarding it, were fighting fiercely with the Phoenix Guard and the others. However, not long ago, they received news from Ling Hua and Ling Shuang that they were also being attacked in the Eastern Sea Spirit region. Therefore, some of them stayed here while others rushed to the Eastern Sea Spirit region. Compared to the pill building, the Eastern Sea was more important because the Yama Lord was there. Before Fengjiu ascended, he had left them many things, and the teleportation scroll was one of them. However, when Du Fan, Fan Lin, and the others appeared with a flash of light from the teleportation scroll, they saw the scene of Qin Xian being shot down into the sea. Qin Xian. Fan Lin's heart skipped a beat as he cried out in surprise. His figure quickly rushed out. However, they had come from the teleportation scroll and landed on the shore. No matter how fast they were, it would take them some time to reach the place where the spaceship was. Therefore, no matter how fast they were, they would not be able to catch Qin Xian before she fell into the sea. Fortunately, when the Lightning Eagle was dodging with the unconscious Yi Feifei, it saw that Qin Xian was injured and hurriedly flew down to catch her. When it saw Du Fan and the others coming, it immediately flapped its wings and flew towards them. Damn it! Seeing the situation here, Gu Mo's expression was extremely ugly as he cursed in a low voice. He quickly joined the battle and went forward to help Luo Yu, who was covered in injuries. Whoosh! Bang bang bang! Cold sword Qi slashed out, heading straight for the sovereigns. As the powerful sword Qi slashed down from the sky, it cut across the surface of the sea, splashing water and air current. Can you still hold on? Gu Mo came to his side and asked while supporting him with one hand. Phew! You're finally here. If you came any later, I really wouldn't have been able to hold on. Luo Yu heaved a sigh of relief. His body was covered in blood, but he smiled evilly. He stared coldly at the sovereigns like a bloodthirsty Azura. There was no fear in his eyes. Instead, he was filled with murderous intent. Gu Mo came to Luo Yu's side to help, while Lu Yun came to Guan Xilin's side. Fan Lin quickly took out medicinal pills and fed them to Qin Xian and Yi Feifei to protect their heart veins. Fang Qing helped the Phoenix Guards fight against the other cultivators, while Du Fan went into the sea to help Ling Shuang and Ling Hua. With their help, the situation was quickly reversed. However, at this moment, a voice came from the clouds. It seems that the people left behind by Fengjiu are almost all here, right? That voice seemed to be talking to himself, but also seemed to be asking someone. Gu Mo and the others frowned when they heard it. They raised their heads to look, but they could not see the person who had spoken. They could only feel that there seemed to be a powerful pressure in the air. Come out. Kill them all. The countless small worlds in this world will be our world. As soon as the voice came out, another 8 sovereigns appeared in the clouds with many powerful cultivators and came down. The sound of war drums reverberated, each sound louder than the last. The smell of blood filled the sea. The deafening sound of war drums was accompanied by screams of killing. Luo Yu and the others, who had just gained the upper hand, fell into a bitter battle at this moment. Chapter 50-80. Fengjiu, who was dressed in dazzling red, came to the shore. When she saw the chaotic battle on the surface of the sea, her eyes turned cold. A powerful aura exuded from her body. The powerful aura surged and quickly spread to the horizon, almost enveloping the entire area. Her gentle voice, which carried a hint of coldness and bloodlust, spread out at this moment. How lively! That voice was neither fast nor slow, but it contained a frightening aura and coldness. It was only a gentle sentence, but in everyone's ears, it was like a sudden clap of thunder. Shock and disbelief appeared on the faces of all the sovereigns at this moment. The moment they heard that voice, the sovereigns and even the cultivators all felt a bone-chilling coldness shoot up from the soles of their feet to their hearts. It was unknown whether it was because they were too shocked, too frightened, or because they were shocked by the powerful pressure that permeated the air, but at this moment, everyone who was originally fighting in a chaotic and fierce manner was completely frozen. One by one, they stopped. The sea surface, which had been filled with screams, clanging sounds of weapons clashing, and the intense beating of war drums, was now so quiet that only the sound of waves crashing against the water could be heard. Everyone maintained their original fighting posture and did not move. They only turned their heads stiffly to look in the direction of the voice. With one look, their pupils suddenly shrank. On the shore, a dazzling red figure slowly walked towards the surface of the sea. As she moved forward, her figure flew into the air. Her dazzling red robes fluttered in the sea breeze, and her black hair fluttered. Her peerlessly beautiful face became clearer and clearer in everyone's eyes. Fengjiu! How is this possible? The sovereign's hearts shook violently. At this moment, the peerless beauty in red was like the king of hell and Rakshasa who came to take their lives. They were so shocked that their faces turned pale. They did not even have the courage to escape. Seems like I've come at the right time. Fengjiu, who was walking on the surface of the sea, said coldly at this moment. Compared to the shock and fear of the sovereigns and the cultivators, Luo Yu and the rest were only surprised and excited when they saw her. Looking at the familiar dazzling red robes, looking at the familiar beautiful face, and the familiar expression and voice on her face, the excitement in their hearts was indescribable. Master! 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 Their voices were filled with unconcealable excitement and surprise. Almost at the same time, they quickly rushed towards the red figure. Although they were in mid-air on the surface of the sea, at this moment, all of them stepped forward and bowed respectfully and excitedly. Your subordinate welcomes Master's return. Their voices were sonorous and powerful, filled with excitement and joy as they came from Luo Yu's and the others' mouths, echoing in the air above the sea. Fengjiu, who was standing on the breeze, placed one hand on her abdomen and the other behind her back. She stood quietly in the void, but the powerful pressure and intimidating aura she exuded were so strong that it made people want to submit to her and not dare to look directly at her. Chapter 5081. Xiaojiu, you're finally back. These people thought they were all monarchs and said that you wouldn't be coming back. They actually wanted to attack Mose, who was resting in the deep sea. Guan Shilin said angrily as he strode to her side. Hearing this, Fengjiu's gaze fell on the surface of the sea 10 meters in front of her. There, the whirlpool was spinning and the air was surging. She stretched out her hand, and a wave of spiritual energy rushed out, instantly sucking up the thing below. Whoosh! Splash! That thing flew out with a whoosh, causing countless splashes as it flew out of the water. Following that thing was Ling Hua, who was tightly holding onto the handle of the umbrella. Master! Master! Du Fan and Ling Hua flew out of the sea. When they saw Fengjiu appear in front of them, they were overjoyed and their eyes were filled with excitement. Fengjiu looked at them. They were all covered in cuts and bruises. Even her brother was soaked in blood. More importantly, these people dared to attack Mose in the Spirit East Sea when she wasn't around. This was unforgivable. I remember that when I ascended, I gave an order that the Spirit Sea of the East Sea was nourishing Xianyuan Mose's soul, and no one was allowed to disturb his peace. It's only been a few years, and you've already forgotten my words? Her footsteps were light and slow as she walked forward on the breeze. With every step she took, the pressure that enveloped this area became a little heavier. Every sound and every word she spoke was like a clap of thunder that heavily smashed into their ears and hearts. It shook their blood and qi to the point that they were in great pain. Behind her, Luo Yu and the others couldn't feel the aura at all. It was as if the powerful aura was consciously targeted only at the monarchs and cultivators. The cultivators were not as strong as the monarchs. They all screamed as blood flowed out of their 7 orifices. One by one, they fell into the sea and died. Pooh! 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 Even the sovereigns could not stop the blood from gushing out of their throat. They opened their mouths and spat out a mouthful of blood. Their bodies shook violently and they almost lost their balance. Their faces were ashen as their bodies trembled in the wind. Since you have forgotten, I can remind you again. Feng Jiu was still walking forward at a leisurely pace, and the pressure in the air was gradually shrinking as she approached. Those who touch my reverse scale, I will make them live a life worse than death. Pooh! As she spoke, the sovereigns could only feel a powerful pressure pressing down on them. The powerful and terrifying airflow didn't even give them a chance to catch their breath. They all spat out mouthfuls of blood. The sovereigns who could barely stand still felt as if they were being crushed by two huge mountains. Their bones were crushed and their bodies were compressed to the size of a child. However, it was not fatal. They still had a clear consciousness and endured the piercing pain from their spine. Chapter 5082. Feng Jiu stopped in her tracks and looked at them coldly. However, she did not retract the power that was pressing down on them. Instead, she flipped her palm and a ball of heavenly life fire flew towards the feet of the sovereigns. I'll let you have a taste of dying by being roasted on fire. Perhaps you'll like it. Her voice was cold. She looked at them coldly without a trace of warmth in her eyes. However, among these sovereigns, she left the sovereign of the southern city alone. Even though Feng Jiu did not touch him, he was so shocked that he did not even have the strength to speak when he saw the miserable state of the sovereigns. Who would have thought that Feng Jiu would come back? Who would have thought that Feng Jiu would come back? Clearly, for tens of millions of years, no one who had ascended had been able to come back. How did she do it? If he had known that Feng Jiu would come back, he would not have dared to do what he did today. Now, regret and fear intertwined in his heart. His body trembled uncontrollably. However, he could only stare at the sovereigns around him in horror as they suffered excruciating pain. The sovereigns, powerful cultivators, could only scream in pain, regret, and fear at this moment. Some of them could not bear the excruciating pain and were ready to abandon their physical bodies to escape. However, their spiritual souls turned into a ball of light and flew out of their bodies. They were caught by Feng Jiu. Did I allow you to escape? Do you think you can escape? Feng Jiu's voice was indifferent. She didn't even move. She just stood there and grabbed at the air. The spiritual halo fell into her hand. If you fall into my hands, you won't even have the chance to be reincarnated. As she spoke, the flames in her hand surged and she crushed the ball of spiritual souls in her hand. Then, the ball of spiritual souls was blown away by the wind and fell into the sea. Looking at this scene, the sovereign of the southern city was so shocked that his body stiffened. He wanted to beg for mercy, but he could not say a word due to his intense fear. He could only watch as Feng Jiu tortured the sovereigns to death in front of him. Not even their spiritual souls were left behind. Do you know why I'm keeping you alive? Feng Jiu looked at the sovereign of the southern city and asked indifferently. Phoenix Master, please spare my life. His entire body was weak and he could not even stand. He was being forcefully pulled by a force. Feng Jiu looked at him and curled her lips, revealing an indifferent and merciless smile. You should know that those who touch my reverse scale have no chance of survival. I'm keeping you alive because I want to know what happened here in the years that I wasn't around. As she spoke, she walked forward step by step until she was in front of him. Under his terrified gaze, she placed her index finger between his eyebrows and started to search his spiritual soul. After a while, she retracted her hand. The sovereign of the southern city, who was initially terrified, was now in a daze. She waved her sleeve and a ball of flames burned him to ashes. She turned around and looked at the umbrella that Ling Hua was holding tightly. It was the Chaos Treasure umbrella. At this moment, it was sealed by her aura and was held in Ling Hua's hand. Chapter 5083. As she spoke, under Ling Hua's slightly stunned gaze, she raised her hand and waved it. erasing the soul contract on the Chaos Essence Treasure umbrella. Just as she erased the spiritual contract on the Chaos Essence Treasure umbrella, someone in the heaven realm suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes were fierce as he gritted his teeth and said, "Feng Jiu." On the surface of the sea, Leng Hua looked at the Chaos Essence Treasure umbrella in his hand. It didn't seem like it wanted to fly away anymore. Instead, it calmed down and landed firmly in his hand. He couldn't help but be stunned. He quickly regained his senses and said, "Leng Hua thanks master." Therefore, he quickly dripped his blood on the treasure to make it his master. After that, he felt that he had an additional level of affinity and familiarity with the Chaos Essence Treasure umbrella. Feng Jiu then looked at everyone and said to them word by word, "I, Feng Jiu, am back." Everyone looked at their master, who was as dazzling as the sun. They were overjoyed. Every one of them smiled from the bottom of their hearts. The alliance of the sovereigns was an intense and tragic battle for them. However, to their master, one person was enough. "Master, when we received news from Leng Hua and the others and rushed back, the Pill Pavilion was also under siege," Du Fan quickly said. Hearing this, Feng Jiu nodded and said, "I understand." As soon as she finished speaking, her gaze fell on the surface of the sea. She released her divine sense and looked down. When she saw that the defensive boundary she set up at the bottom of the sea was still there, she knew that this fierce battle didn't disturb Mose's spiritual soul. Therefore, she said to everyone, "Treat your wounds first. I'll go to the Pill Pavilion to take a look." As soon as she finished speaking, she waved her sleeve and a void teleportation vortex appeared in front of her. At the same time, at the Pill Pavilion, Qi Kong and Hui Lang, who were guarding the Pill Pavilion, were fighting together. However, other than the sovereigns, there were also many cultivators. Almost no one dared to approach within 100 miles. Many people were shocked by the fierce battle between the Elixir Pavilion's members and the sovereigns. Even though Feng Jiu had ascended for a few years, her prestige was still there. Her powerful subordinates were still there. Moreover, each of them was an expert capable of holding their own. If they didn't know, who would dare to make a move against them? Furthermore, it was such a large-scale attack that the entire Pill Pavilion was destroyed. The entire city was shrouded in the aura of the sovereigns, isolating the surroundings. The cultivators of the aristocratic families in the city could barely take care of themselves, so they were unable to help the Elixir Pavilion. Even though Qi Kong, Grey Wolf, and the others were fighting a bloody battle, they couldn't withstand the continuous rotation of the battle even if they could take on 100 experts by themselves. "If I don't die today, I'll kill them all," Hui Lang said bitterly. He blocked the attack with his sword. "Be careful." Not far away, Qi Kong, who was fighting with two sovereigns, shouted. However, he couldn't free himself to help Hui Lang. He could only watch as a sword pierced his abdomen from behind. Grey Wolf let out a muffled groan. He turned around and slashed at the cultivator. The swift and fierce sword slashed the cultivator into two halves. However, the sword still pierced his abdomen. Chapter 5084. Hui Lang covered the wound in his abdomen with one hand and retreated to Ying Yi's side. His forehead was covered in cold sweat and his face was pale. He asked, "What's that sound?" "It sounds like the sound of a beast running," Ying Yi said hesitantly. Then he came back to his senses and supported Hui Lang with one hand. Seeing that the sword was still in his abdomen and blood was seeping out, Ying Yi asked, "How are you?" "TSK. I won't die." Grey Wolf snorted and took a deep breath. He reached his hand behind him and grabbed the sword. With a burst of spirit energy, he broke the sword that was piercing his waist. Clang! The sharp sword was snapped in half, making a clear clanging sound. He didn't pull out the broken sword because he knew that if he pulled it out, the blood wouldn't stop. The battle was not over yet. He could still fight. "Bai Shao is here," Qi Kong said with a glint in his eyes. "He came at the right time. As long as we can hold those cultivators back, we will have a chance to win." Roar! Roar! Just as he finished speaking, he heard the roars of beasts in the midst of the rumbling. At the same time, the sovereigns' faces darkened. When they looked back, they noticed that a huge eagle was flying over. On the back of the eagle was a man in green who was playing a flute. No one heard the sound of the flute, but they could see that the flute was emitting circles of musical note. Roar! About a few hundred powerful beasts flew over and pounced on those cultivators. Once they pounced on them, they tore at them. This caused the cultivators who came with the sovereigns to instantly fall into a chaotic battle between humans and beasts. Are you all okay? Bai Xiao turned the flute in his hand and asked Qi Kong and the others below. If you had come a little later, we would have been in trouble. Hui Lang showed a pale smile. When Bai Xiao saw that they were all covered in wounds, she said, My beasts can only deal with those cultivators, but they can't deal with those sovereigns. The monarch's strength and aura were too strong. These ferocious beasts were not ancient divine beasts. They could deal with the cultivators, but these ferocious beasts did not dare to get close to the monarchs. Let us deal with them. As Qi Kong spoke, he turned the sword in his hand and stared at the cultivators who were watching the chaotic battle between humans and beasts with gloomy expressions. As soon as he finished speaking, he lifted his sword and soared into the air, attacking one of the sovereigns. Seeing this, Bai Xiao jumped down from the eagle's back and stopped Hui Lang, who was about to step forward to fight with his sword. She said, Do you want to die? There's still a broken sword in your abdomen that's bleeding. I won't die. I'll go kill a few more, Hui Lang said as he pushed him aside and prepared to go forward. Go to the back and stay there, Yingyi said with a frown. He asked Bai Xiao to keep an eye on him, then he took a deep breath and flew toward the sovereigns. Leave the rest to us. We'll kill them all. Many of them swung their swords and killed a few cultivators, then went toward the sovereigns. In terms of combat strength, the 8 captains of the Phoenix Guards were all on par with each other. Moreover, they were all trained by their master. As long as they could hold back those troublesome cultivators, they were confident that they could deal with the sovereigns. Chapter 5085. Looking at the chaotic battle, Bai Xiao said, Why is the elixir pavilion destroyed? Where are the others? Why are there only a few of you here? Hui Lang took a deep breath, cold sweat dripping from his forehead. He said, These people have been plotting this for a long time. They split into 2 groups and attacked. Besides the elixir pavilion, even the East Sea spiritual region was attacked. Therefore, other than the few of us guarding here, everyone else rushed over there. The East Sea spiritual region? Bai Xiao was shocked. Are they going to attack the Yama Lord? Where did they get the guts? Madam has been away for many years, and we are the only ones guarding here. They are naturally unwilling to stay like this. Moreover, there seems to be something else going on. There is a mastermind behind this. Be careful. As Hui Lang spoke, he let out a low cry and reached out to pull him away. At the same time, he held the sword in his hand and slashed forward. A cultivator who was about to launch a sneak attack screamed and fell down. Hui Lang also staggered a few steps back. Bai Xiao supported him and looked at the chaotic scene. He said, Let me help you to a safe place first. You should apply some medicine to stop the bleeding. He supported him and was about to retreat when he saw Qi Kong fighting with a sovereign in the air. Not far away, another sovereign took the opportunity to attack him from behind. He was so shocked that he shouted, Qi Kong, be careful behind you. However, even though he warned him, Qi Kong was caught in a golden net by the sovereign in front of him. As he struggled, the net became tighter and tighter. There was no way he could avoid the fatal sword behind him. You stay here. I'll go help him. When Bai Xiao saw this, he ignored the fact that he wasn't a match for a monarch-rank powerhouse and rushed towards Qi Kong. Old man, you have such a magic weapon. Hui Lang cursed. He held the sword in his hand and rushed forward. He did not care about the broken sword in his body. Get out of the way. Bai Xiao, who couldn't block the sovereign's sword, saw that the sword was about to strike Qi Kong, so he pounced forward and knocked him away. Both of them fell from the sky and landed on the back of a ferocious beast. They were then blasted away and rolled down the ruined walls of the elixir pavilion. "You're courting death." The sovereign's face darkened as his sword missed its target. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. His gaze swept across the crowd and landed on Qi Kong and Bai Xiao. "Do you think you can still survive today? Let me tell you, this day next year will be the anniversary of your death." As he spoke, he condensed his spiritual power on the sword in his hand again, and a powerful sword aura burst out from the blade. As he raised his hand, the sword also rose, pointing directly at the two people in the corner of the ruins. "Really?" Suddenly, a cold voice was heard. It was extremely abrupt, especially for those who were familiar with the voice. They were even more shocked when they heard it. Even the few sovereigns were stunned when they heard the cold female voice, and a bad feeling rose in their hearts. They looked in the direction of the voice and saw a whirlpool appear in the sky not far away. A dazzling red figure was coming out of the whirlpool. As she came out, the whirlpool behind her disappeared. "Master! Madam!" Chapter 5086. Even though the sovereigns had never seen Fengzhu before, they had heard of her reputation. They also knew that she was beautiful and liked to wear red clothes. At this moment, they were stunned when they saw Fengzhu suddenly appear here. "Fengzhu? How is this possible? How many years has it been since Fengzhu ascended? How could she still be here? Could she be an impostor?" However, as soon as this thought appeared, their faces turned pale and ashen. This was because as she walked in the air, the aura and pressure in the air that were hundreds of times stronger than theirs approached. Even the sovereigns found it difficult to breathe in front of her. "Perhaps you don't know that the sovereigns who besiege the East Sea spiritual region are already dead." Fengzhu's voice was neither fast nor slow, but they could hear the coldness and murderous intent in her voice. "This day next year will not only be the anniversary of their deaths, but also the anniversary of your deaths." As she said this, the sovereigns started bleeding from their 7 orifices. They could not even speak. Pft! The powerful pressure caused the blood in their bodies to run amok. Their vision became blurry because of the blood that seeped out of their eyes. They also spat out a mouthful of blood from their hearts. They could not even stand in the air and fell. At this moment, countless ferocious beasts were still fighting with the sovereigns a moment ago. However, after Fengzhu's voice and her arrival, the ferocious beasts all lay on the ground obediently. They did not even dare to raise their heads. As for the sovereigns, they were all lying on the ground and did not dare to move. Their bodies were trembling, especially those who had seen Fengzhu before. They were so scared that they fainted. Qi Kong and the others saw their master raise her hand. A few rays of cold light instantly shot into the sovereigns' foreheads. At the same time, their souls were shattered and their lives were extinguished at that moment. "You dare to destroy my alchemy pavilion? You have guts." The cultivators felt a chill in their hearts. They knew that today was not only the death anniversary of the monarchs, but also their own death anniversary. Sure enough, not long after that voice fell, one by one, they fell to the ground with a muffled groan. They did not see how Fengzhu killed them because Fengzhu did not make a move at all. Instead, he directly used his pressure to crush their souls. "Little Bai, get these ferocious beasts to leave the city," Fengzhu said, looking at Bai Xiao in the corner. "Yes." Bai Xiao immediately responded. She stood up and looked at the sky. With the deaths of the sovereigns, the barrier and pressure they had set up in the air dissipated. Immediately, he took out his flute and played it, driving the ferocious beasts out of the city and back into the forest. "Your subordinates kowtow to you, master." Under the lead of Qi Kong and the others, along with the Phoenix Guards who were guarding the alchemy pavilion, they all knelt on one knee and bowed respectfully. They looked at their master with excitement. They did not know why their master, who had already ascended, had returned. They only knew that it was great to see their master again. "Rise, all of you," Fengjiu said and walked forward slowly. He could not help but sigh when he saw that they were covered in wounds and that the alchemy pavilion behind them had been reduced to ruins. Chapter 5087. Fengjiu looked at them kneeling and said, "You've done your best. If it's destroyed, then so be it. It's fine as long as you're fine." As she spoke, she looked at Hui Lang. Seeing that there was still a broken sword in his abdomen and his face was abnormally pale, she said to them, "Find a place to heal first." The heavenly elixir building was destroyed, but they still had a courtyard here. Therefore, they went to another courtyard first, leaving some phoenix guards to guard the ruins and tidy up the place. Seeing that Fengjiu and the others left for another courtyard to heal, the aristocratic families and various forces in the city were in an uproar. Fengjiu was back. The ghost Dr. Fengjiu, who had already ascended, was back. While everyone was shocked and in disbelief, the news spread quickly. Some people were happy, while others were uneasy. In another courtyard, Hui Lang was helped to a room to lie down on the bed. Fengjiu sat beside him, and Bai Shao assisted from the side. "The place where the sword was stabbed will definitely bleed profusely. But you don't have to worry. With me here, you won't die," Fengjiu said, looking at the grinning Hui Lang and shaking her head. "Madam, it's great that you're back." "Madam, why are you back? Have you been to the Eastern Sea Spirit region to see my master? Is my master going to wake up? He, with Madam here, I know I won't die." Hui Lang's weak face had a big smile. Seeing her, he was excited and happy. Over at the Eastern Sea Spirit region, Luo Yu and the others are also injured. This time, many sovereigns came to besiege them. It's said that they have designs on Moze. As she spoke, she took advantage of his distraction to pull out the broken sword that was stuck in his body. Hui Lang groaned as if he couldn't catch his breath. When the broken sword was pulled out, a pillar of blood also splashed out. Then, fresh blood gushed out. Fengjiu quickly sealed his surrounding acupoints to stop the bleeding and clean his wounds. When she was done, she didn't hear him make another sound. She couldn't help but look up, only to see that he had already fainted. Seeing this, she could not help but shake her head and smile. Looking at the wound, she extended her hand and condensed green lotus qi to heal him. Bai Shao supported Hui Lang and watched as the wound on Hui Lang's abdomen healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the end, not even a scar could be seen. Hui Lang snorted softly, as if someone had woken him up from a deep sleep. He moved slightly and suddenly opened his eyes. He saw his wife washing her hands and Bai Shao staring at his abdomen. "What are you doing?" Hui Lang glared at him and instinctively covered his naked abdomen with one hand. However, when her hand touched her abdomen, she was stunned. She looked down and saw that there was not even a wound. She could not help but be surprised. Looking at Fengjiu, who was wiping his hands, she asked, "Madam, did you use the power of the green lotus to treat me? Why? Are you complaining that it healed too quickly?" Fengjiu raised her eyebrows and glanced at him with a half-smile. No, how could that be?" Hui Lang hurriedly said. He stood up happily and quickly took out his clothes to put them on. He asked, "Madam, is the Eastern Sea Spirit region all right? Is my master all right? How are they? Madam, how did you come back? Didn't you not come back after ascending? Why are you?" Chapter 5088. She looked at Hui Lang and said, "You can leave now that you've recovered. It's still a mess outside, and I don't have time to waste here. As for your questions, I'll answer them when I'm done." As she spoke, she had already walked out. When the door opened, Qi Kong and many others were helping some Phoenix guards bandage their wounds. When they saw her coming out, they walked forward and greeted, "Master. How are your injuries?" she asked as her gaze swept past the Phoenix guards. "Their injuries are not fatal, but they are not light either. Other than those who are injured, 17 of our brothers have died," Qi Kong said with a heavy expression. Those Phoenix guards were all trained by them, and this time, 17 of them had died. Hearing this, Fengjiu was silent for a moment and said, "Give them a proper burial." Most of the Phoenix Guards were raised by orphans. They did not even have a relative, and the Feng family was their home. She was their master and their relative. "Yes, I understand," Qi Kong said and asked, "Master, how are things in the East Sea spiritual region? Do we still need to send people over? Now that so many sovereigns have died, the various regions and heaven realms are bound to be in chaos. There's also the person behind the scenes. He was the one who started this. Before I came, I searched the soul of the South Qing sovereign and roughly knew what happened." As Feng Jiu spoke, she looked at the sky in the distance and said, "The monarch behind this is known as the Clear Sky Monarch. A few years ago, for some reason, he obtained the Black Lotus that was lost somewhere. The Clear Sky Monarch is the descendant of a great emperor from the celestial world." Speaking of this, she paused for a moment and said, "This time, other than dealing with all of you, they mainly wanted to use Moze to deal with me. However, they did not expect me to return at this time." Hearing this, the few of them felt a lingering fear. If their master had not returned, they would not have been able to protect the Yama Lord in the East Sea spiritual region. The heavenly pill dispensary has been destroyed, and there's no need to rebuild it. Right now, there are other things for you to do. Fengjiu looked at them and said, "Master, please instruct us." "Madam, please give me your orders." The few of them spoke in unison as their gazes fell on her. Now that she was here, no matter what she asked them to do, they would be at ease. "Guard the heaven realm well. Now that so many sovereigns have died in my hands, there will definitely be chaos. You all." As she spoke, suddenly, as if she had sensed something, her expression changed abruptly. "Not good." With a flick of her sleeve, a teleportation vortex appeared in front of her, and the red figure quickly rushed into it. Qi Kong and the others were stunned. By the time they reacted, the teleportation whirlpool was about to close. Qi Kong immediately shouted, "Hui Lang, follow them." Almost as soon as he finished speaking, Hui Lang's figure quickly swept past and jumped into the vortex. At the same time, the vortex disappeared. Did something happen in the Eastern Sea Spirit region? Master's expression is so panicked. I'm afraid this matter has something to do with the Yama Lord. Many people at the side said with a solemn and worried expression. Inyi pursed his lips and didn't speak. This was because he knew that many people's guesses were probably not far from the truth. Chapter 5089. In the Spirit Sea region, not long after Fengjiu left, a huge wave was set off on the surface of the sea. It was as if something fell from the sky into the sea at that moment, splashing water on the huge wave. The movement on the surface of the sea alerted Du Fan and the others. They quickly came out to check, only to see the wave surging more than 10 meters high towards their spaceship. "What's going on? Why are there suddenly waves without any wind?" Luo Yu came out and was stunned when he saw the huge wave. Weren't all the sovereigns killed? Who else could be causing trouble? Guan Shilin said with a frown, staring at the huge wave on the surface of the sea. At the same time, their spaceship also flew higher. No! Suddenly, Luo Yu's eyes narrowed. Before Master came, there was another one hiding behind the clouds. Hearing this, they suddenly remembered and immediately said, "Let's go down and take a look." The one hiding behind the clouds could only be heard but not seen. Especially when their master came, there was not even the slightest bit of aura, as if it had escaped long ago. But at this moment, looking at the surface of the sea without any wind, their hearts couldn't help but sink. However, just as they jumped into the sea, a powerful airflow suddenly surged up from the bottom of the sea. It was as if something had exploded. Even in the sea, the energy airflow could be clearly seen rapidly spreading to the surroundings. Bang! Boom! Amidst the deafening sound, a terrifying air current surged out. In that instant, the entire sea shook violently, and the seawater surged up violently. Even the few people who had just jumped into the sea were knocked out of the sea by the powerful and terrifying pressure of the turbulent current. Bang, bang, bang! It was as if a wave of airflow had surged from the bottom of the sea and blasted them out of the sea. Just as they flew out of the sea, they quickly stabilized themselves and retreated, their eyes filled with shock. Master's barrier has been broken. Du Fan's face was solemn and his heart sank. He had a faint bad feeling. Once the barrier is broken, I'm afraid the Yama Lord will. At this time, Luo Yu's expression was also very dignified. They looked at the airflow that was still surging outwards. At this time, the seawater was boiling like boiling water. For it to have such an effect from the depths of the sea to the surface, one can imagine how powerful the airflow was. Who is able to break the enchantment that little Nine set up? What would happen to Mose down there? No, I have to go down and take a look. Guan Shilin was worried and wanted to jump back into the water. We can't go in, and it's useless even if we go in now. Once the barrier is broken, Master should be able to sense it. Du Fan pulled him back and stared at the sea. Just as he finished speaking, he saw a whirlpool appear, and a red figure swept over like a flash of light. Behind her was Hui Lang. Master! They hurriedly called out and reported the matter. A huge wave suddenly appeared in the sea. We wanted to go to the bottom of the sea to check it out, but we were sent flying by the violent turbulence below. It seems that the enchantment set up by Master has been broken. Chapter 50-90. As she spoke, she extended her divine sense downwards to search for Mose's location. However, her heart sank when she did so. Seeing that her expression had become extremely bad, Du Fan and the others looked at each other and asked, Master, how is the Yama Lord? He's gone. Feng Zhou's voice was low and his eyes were cold. There is a trace of the Black Lotus's aura in the depths of the sea. It was the Clear Sky Lord who took the initiative. She did not expect that a mere monarch would have the ability to break through her barrier. Furthermore, it was done when she was rushing to the Heavenly Dan building. There was a trace of the aura of the Black Lotus left in the sea, but there was also the smell of blood. This made her feel very bad, and she had the urge to start a massacre. She raised her chi and soared into the sky. Her killing intent poured out at this moment. Her red figure shot out like a ray of light and instantly disappeared into the clouds. She was too fast, so fast that Du Fan and the others did not even have the chance to catch up. Seeing her leave, Du Fan said, Master must have gone to find the Clear Sky Lord. Should we follow and help? Hui Lang asked. Luo Yu shook his head. Master is too fast. We can't catch up. Furthermore, Master is very strong. We can't help even if we go. Now that so many sovereigns have died, it will definitely cause chaos. What we need to do is to stabilize the chaos so that Master has no worries. Hearing this, Hui Lang glanced at him and said, Just now, when we were over there, Madam also said the same thing to Qi Kong. He paused and looked at the horizon. He said worriedly, But now that Master is gone, will something happen? I think that nothing will happen to the Yama Lord. Even if he hasn't woken up yet, the Clear Sky Lord wants to threaten Master. Master will definitely not let anything happen to the Yama Lord. Otherwise, if something really happens to the Yama Lord, he won't be able to live. Du Fan said slowly. He stared at the sea where the airflow was gradually dissipating. He said, Although he is no longer down there, I feel that there is a need to go down and check. I'll go down with you, Ling Hua said. Du Fan looked at him and nodded. All right. With that, the two of them jumped into the sea. Let's go back and arrange things, Luo Yu said as he turned around and headed back to the spaceship. No one knew when the huge waves had dissipated, and the churning seawater had gradually calmed down. However, everyone's hearts were unusually heavy because the Yama Lord had disappeared. In the spacecraft, Fan Lin was treating Qin Xin and Yi Feifei. As soon as he walked out of the cabin, he saw them and asked, How is it? The few of them shook their heads and briefly explained the situation. Hearing their words, Fan Lin and the others couldn't help but frown. That's going to be troublesome. Madame has already gone after them. She'll be fine, Hui Lang said. No one knew if he was telling them or comforting himself. After a long time, Du Fan and Ling Hua returned from the bottom of the sea. When they landed in the spaceship, they pursed their lips tightly, their expressions extremely ugly. How was it? Did you find anything? Guan Shilin hurriedly asked. Du Fan and Ling Hua looked at each other. Ling Hua said, We found some extremely small pieces of a corpse at the bottom of the sea. Master said that the body that broke her barrier self-destructed, but under those circumstances, we felt that something was wrong. Chapter 5091. Hearing their words, a few of them frowned and said, If there was one person who blew up the barrier, then there must be another person who could take the Yama Lord away. However, only an instant passed between the moment the commotion occurred and the moment we came out to investigate. We didn't see anyone leave from the surface of the sea at all. I reckon that they left directly from the bottom of the sea. Furthermore, under such circumstances, even a monarch wouldn't be able to take the Yama Lord away unscathed when another monarch self-destructed. As Du Fan spoke, he looked at them and said, I want to make a trip to the Heaven Realm under the jurisdiction of the Clear Sky Monarch. He had some things that he wanted to verify. If things were really as he thought, then it would really be troublesome. Hearing this, Luo Yu and the others said, That's good too. Master is going alone. Go over and see if there's anything that you can help with. If there's any news about the Yama Lord, remember to tell us. Du Fan responded. Then, he gathered his qi and flew towards the sky. Ling Hua was deep in thought. He didn't say anything at the side. No one knew what he was thinking about. Because she had searched the soul of the South Qing monarch, she was very clear about the location of the Clear Sky Monarch's territory. When the sky darkened, she came to this area. She arrived quietly and didn't alarm anyone. Instead, she went straight to the palace of the Clear Sky Monarch to investigate quietly. Along the way, she was also thinking about how the Clear Sky Monarch made a monarch self-destruct to break her barrier. Also, how did he not get injured by the powerful air currents of the explosion and take Mose away under such circumstances? Could it be that the Clear Sky Monarch had some kind of treasure that could save his life? Otherwise, how could all of this be explained? The palace was heavily guarded, and there were guards patrolling everywhere. However, it was extremely easy for her to pass through. With the strength of these guards, it was impossible for them to discover her. Without alerting anyone, she managed to get a rough idea of the palace. However, she did not find the Clear Sky Sovereign's people. He wasn't here? Had he run to another place to hide? Was that even possible? No matter how big the outside world was, it would be as safe as the palace she was familiar with. Moreover, she believed that there would definitely be some sort of underground secret room in the palace. Perhaps the Clear Sky Monarch had hidden Mose somewhere in the palace. After searching for a while, she still couldn't find him. She took a deep breath and suppressed the irritation and killing intent in her heart. As she calmed herself down, she began to search the entire palace with her divine sense. As soon as she searched with her divine sense, some of the stronger cultivators in the palace instantly noticed it. Who is it? Dignified shouts came from various parts of the palace. At the same time, figures leaped out from various places and stood in the air. Their sharp eyes carried an intimidating aura as they searched for the uninvited guest who dared to use his divine sense to search the palace. When their gazes swept past the darkness and landed on the red figure that was still clearly visible in the dark, some people's pupils involuntarily constricted as shock and disbelief flashed across their eyes. Ghost, Dr. Fengjiu. Chapter 5092. Fengjiu glanced at them, and her cold voice spread in the night wind. Where's the Clear Sky Monarch? The monarch didn't come back, one of them said with a trembling voice. His entire face turned pale when he saw her. Is that so? Her voice was indifferent. However, in the next moment, a long sword that was suffused with a green light appeared in her hand. The sharp tip of the sword was slanted towards the ground, and a biting cold sword energy was released from the blade. It was extremely fierce and terrifying. That murderous aura was felt by the cultivators who were 100 meters away. When they saw her brandishing her long sword, their eyes narrowed. Some turned and fled, while others knelt down and exclaimed, "Have mercy, Ghost Doctor. I know that there's a secret room in the monarch's palace. Maybe he's hiding in the secret room. I can bring Ghost Doctor to look for him." Swish, swish, swish. The sharp sword intent attacked those cultivators when they turned and fled. A few rays of cold light with frightening murderous aura shot towards them. A few screams sounded in the night, followed by the sound of a few people collapsing. Among those cultivators, only the trembling cultivator who knelt down was still alive. The red robe swept across the night, and in the blink of an eye, she arrived in front of that cultivator. "Lead the way." Fengjiu's cold voice was exceptionally clear in the night. Especially the murderous aura emitted from her body, it was even more frightening. "Yes, yes." That cultivator wiped off his cold sweat and stood up while trembling. He brought her to the palace below. However, because those cultivators were killed and their corpses fell below, it alarmed the guards who were patrolling the night. In an instant, chaotic footsteps could be heard from below, accompanied by a stern shout. "Who dares to barge into the Clear Sky Palace at night?" The guards who were patrolling the night and the shadow guards who were hiding in the dark all rushed out at this moment and quickly surrounded the two of them. These guards and shadow guards had never seen Fengjiu before, but they recognized the cultivator who was trembling beside her. Just as they were about to ask, they saw a murderous aura spread out, and a cold light swept across the night sky. She didn't use her aura to suppress and kill them directly. Instead, she used her killing intent to kill them directly. Because at this moment, the murderous aura in her heart was surging. Only by seeing blood could she calm down. The cultivator who was following beside her saw this scene, and his lips kept trembling. There were at least 100 guards and shadow guards who surrounded them. However, in just a short while, those people fell one by one before he could even see how she appeared. Fresh blood splattered on the ground, and severed limbs scattered in all directions. Even someone like him who had seen many bloody scenes couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart when he saw this bloody scene. "Let's go." A cold voice suddenly sounded in his ears, startling him. He quickly led the way. When the cultivator. This place was covered with layers upon layers of barriers and formations. If not for this person leading the way, it would have been difficult to find it in a short time. She glanced at the cultivator and asked, "Who are you? How do you know about the existence of this secret room?" Logically speaking, except for the owner of this place, no one else knew about this place. Chapter 5093. His voice trembled as he spoke in a small voice. He secretly raised his head to look at her. Seeing her indifferent expression and not saying anything else, he hurriedly said, "Ghost Doctor, I've never entered this secret room before. I don't know what's inside, but if the monarch has returned, his hiding place must be here. So, do you think I can?" He didn't dare to follow her in. What if he didn't find the monarch inside, and the Ghost Doctor became angry and killed him? Or, even if the monarch was really inside, if he followed her in, it would be difficult for him to survive. Xiao! Ah! A sharp, cold light flashed past, followed by a blood-curdling scream. At the same time, fresh blood spurted out. That cultivator fell to his knees, and one of his arms fell to the ground. Blood gushed out from the wound where his arm was severed. Fram. Fengjiu didn't even look at him. She just calmly shouted, Yes. Thank you, Ghost Doctor, for not killing me," he said gratefully. After kowtowing to her, he held his severed arm and hurriedly walked out. Compared to the others who were killed, he only lost an arm. This was already a great mercy. It was as if he had just escaped with his life. He didn't dare to stay here for long, and quickly escaped from the palace. Feng Jiu stepped into the secret room, and walked down the stone step. When she entered, she felt that other than the cold air in the air, there was also an extremely strong spiritual aura. As she walked down, the space in her line of sight became bigger and bigger. Inside, it didn't look like an underground secret room, but an underground palace. On the walls, fist-sized luminous pearls and colored glass lamps could be seen everywhere, illuminating the entire place. However, there was a faint mist that filled the air, as if it was condensed from cold air. Just as she walked forward, suddenly, a ferocious beast rushed out and pounced towards her. Its aura was fierce, and its strength was great. The wind in the air made a whistling sound. She narrowed her eyes, and the spiritual aura on her body circulated. The red figure instantly swept out. Instead of dodging, she directly met it. The sharp sword in her hand viciously slashed at the ferocious beast. Xiao! Roar! The sharp sword aura carried an ancient pressure as it spread out. In an instant, a shrill roar of a beast could be heard from the thin mist. Then, with a loud bang, it was as if the beast's corpse had fallen to the ground. The mist dissipated due to the surge of spiritual power, and his vision became clear. Feng Jiu looked at the ground in front of him. There was a divine beast-level vicious beast that had been cut into two halves. Its head and body were separated and scattered on the ground. Blood gushed out and dyed the ground red. She calmly retracted her gaze and continued to walk forward. As she entered, she could faintly feel the aura of the Black Lotus. After walking forward for about 10 meters, she saw a boundary that exuded the aura of the Black Lotus. Break! With a clear shout, she struck out with her hand, and a powerful force gushed out, instantly breaking the barrier. Bang! A loud bang was heard. It was not very loud, but there was a visible airflow that spread to the surroundings. The chi of the Black Lotus in this airflow permeated the surroundings, but it did not dare to approach Feng Jiu. Chapter 5094. It was like an ice cellar. It was snow-white inside and cold air poured out. Even she could feel the bone-chilling coldness as she stood beside the stone door. Due to the extreme coldness, the surroundings had been frozen into snow-white ice. Near the edge of the room, there was a bed of ice that seemed to have been created from the heavens. Xianyuan Mose lay there in his black robes, as if he was sleeping soundly. Seeing him, she walked in with large strides and called out to the ice bed, "Mose!" Aside from her voice, there was no other sound. There was no trace of the clear sky monarch either. She looked at Mose, who was sleeping on the ice bed. It had already been a few years since she was able to see him up close. This time, she hadn't had the chance to go to the bottom of the sea to see him when he was brought here. She extended her hand to gently stroke his face. She could feel that his celestial body had condensed and his aura had stabilized. She finally relaxed. "It's good that you're fine," she said softly. She let out a sigh of relief and smiled faintly. "Mose, I'm back. Do you know?" She held his hand and felt the coldness of his hand. She glanced at the world of ice and snow around her and said, "This place should be where a spirit vein is located. The spiritual chi here is extremely abundant, and it's cold as well. This aura is quite compatible with you. Compared to the bottom of the spirit region of the East Sea, the aura here is more suitable for your soul." She took a step back and looked at the sleeping Mose. She said, "I'll help you. I'll transfer the cold aura and the aura of the spirit vein into your body." As she spoke, she gathered her hands together and her aura circulated. She guided the aura and the cold aura into his body. With the help of Feng Jiu, a steady stream of spirit power and the cold aura entered his body. They were quickly absorbed by his body and turned into energy in his body. As the aura and the cold aura surged into Moses' body, the aura of spiritual chi in the air gradually weakened. The world of ice and snow around him also gradually melted. Some of the ice and snow turned into water droplets that fell to the ground. As the night passed, the world of ice and snow completely melted, revealing the stone walls behind the ice and snow. The entire underground palace was like a dried-up well. There was no aura of spiritual qi left at all. Fengjiu withdrew his hand and exhaled gently. He glanced at the moist surroundings and prepared to leave with Mose. At this moment, he faintly heard Du Fan's call. "Master! Master!" Du Fan arrived at the palace. Corpses could be seen everywhere, and they had died extremely tragically. The entire palace was silent. Aside from the corpses on the ground, there was nothing else. Looking at this scene, he knew that his master had been here before, but he didn't know if his master was still here. Just as he was about to use his divine sense to search, he heard his master's voice. "I'm in the underground palace of the main palace. Come here." Chapter 5095. I was just about to bring him back. You've come at the right time. Come and help me support him, Fengjiu said. She looked at Du Fan, who was walking over quickly, and asked, "How did you find me so quickly? Have you been here before?" "No, but I had people investigate this clear sky monarch, so I know the location of his palace," Du Fan said, and came to her side. After glancing at the sleeping Yama Lord, she looked around and asked, "Master, did you find the clear sky monarch?" Fengjiu shook her head and said, "It's strange. I came here to find Mose, but I didn't see the clear sky monarch. Instead, Mose was placed here. The original environment here was very beneficial to him. It's just that there was a barrier set up with the aura of the Black Lotus, but I couldn't find the aura of the Black Lotus outside here." She kept feeling that something was wrong, but she didn't know what the problem was. "Master, I have something to report to you." As Du Fan spoke, he looked at Xianyuan Mose, who was in deep sleep. Seeing this, Fengjiu looked back and asked, "What is it?" "Before coming, Ling Hua and I went to the depths of the sea to investigate. We found that there were broken limbs and fragments that broke through the barrier set up by Master. Master also said that it was self-detonation, and only monarchs could break through the defensive barrier set up by Master. However, there's something I don't understand. The turbulence and airflow caused by self-detonation were so terrifying. Under such circumstances, how did the clear sky monarch survive and take the Yama Lord away? My guess is that he should have some protective treasure," Fengjiu said and paused. "It's very likely that he used the power of the Black Lotus to control a monarch and made him use himself as a shield to break through my barrier. At that moment, he used some treasure to protect himself and took Mose away at the same time." She pondered for a moment and said, "Since this clear sky monarch is a descendant of the great emperor of the upper celestial world, it's hard to guarantee that he doesn't have some life-saving items." Du Fan paused and looked at the Yama Lord. "Master, have you examined the Yama Lord's body? Is there anything wrong?" Fengjiu, who was still thinking about something, was surprised when he heard her words. He looked at her and said, "What do you mean? Could it be that you feel that something is wrong with Mose?" As she spoke, she looked at Mose, who was lying on the ground. Without waiting for Du Fan to speak, she said, "I examined him last night. Perhaps it's because of the aura here, but his immortal body has been condensed very well. Furthermore, I used the aura of the spirit vein here and the cold aura here to strengthen his immortal body. Perhaps he will wake up soon." Of course, she had examined him and found that there were no problems in all aspects. This was also what she found strange. That clear sky monarch brought him here, but then disappeared, leaving only Mose here. What was the reason for this? And where did he go? Hearing her words, Du Fan's anxious heart finally relaxed. Since Master said that there's nothing wrong with the Yama Lord, then that's great. This place is rather humid. Master, let's go back first. Chapter 5096. Fengjiu and Du Fan brought Mose to the courtyard where Qi Kong and the others were. After a night's work, Qi Kong and the others had the situation under control. When they suddenly saw the three of them, they couldn't help but be shocked and quickly went forward. Master, what happened to the Yama Lord? Master. Yi quickly went forward and helped to support him. Fengjiu letting Yi and Du Fan help him in and said, something happened. There's no need to guard the spirit region of the East Sea. Send a message to Luo Yu and the others and tell them that we're here now. She paused for a moment before continuing, also, tell my brother to tell my grandpa and the others that they don't have to worry and that they don't have to come all the way here, in case. Before she could finish her sentence, she heard Du Fan's exclamation from inside. Master, come and see. Hearing the voice, Fengjiu couldn't care about anything else and immediately walked in. As soon as he entered, he felt an extremely cold aura spreading out. At the same time, the aura of the Black Lotus surged out from Mose's body. Du Fan and Yi retreated because of the aura. They were anxious but didn't dare to go forward. Fengjiu, who came in, saw Mose lying on the bed with an icy aura surging out from his body. At the same time, the aura of the Black Lotus also surged out from his body. The two auras seemed to be competing, so much so that the entire room was filled with the aura of extreme cold and the aura of the Black Lotus. You two go out, Fengjiu said and gestured for the two to come out. Seeing this, the two quickly went out and closed the door and stood guard by the door. Du Fan's expression was serious and his eyes were slightly lowered. No one knew what he was thinking. Yi looked back at the room behind him from time to time and couldn't help but ask, what's going on? Who brought Master out from the deep sea? Had his body already formed into an immortal body? And what's with the cold aura and the aura of the Black Lotus? Du Fan, you've been by Master's side for a long time, so you should know what's going on, right? Tell us about it. Qi Kong and the others also stepped forward. Du Fan looked up at them and said, the clear sky monarch broke through the defensive barrier that Master laid at the bottom of the sea and took the Yama Lord away. Master chased after him to the clear sky palace and found the Yama Lord in the underground palace. When I went there, I didn't see the clear sky monarch and only brought the Yama Lord back. As for the rest, I don't really understand. Hearing these words, the crowd looked at each other and didn't say anything else. They just waited there. In the room, Fengjiu stood by the bed and watched as the two auras on Mose's body battled. Her eyes flashed. She could sense the faint aura of the azure dragon within the extremely cold qi, while she could faintly sense an aura that did not belong to Mose within the qi of the Black Lotus. As if she thought of something, her heart skipped a beat. She tapped on his forehead with her finger, and a trace of her divine sense entered his sea of consciousness. In the white sea of consciousness there was an extremely cold qi. She sent a wisp of her divine sense inside and saw Mose, who was sleeping in the sea of consciousness, as well as the faint azure dragon shape and the wisp of divine sense that had turned into qi on his body. Clear Sky Monarch. You really were hiding here. Chapter 5097. Even Mose, who was in a deep slumber, instinctively tried to devour the other party when he sensed that someone was trying to devour his soul and take over his body. The sleeping azure dragon qi coiled around his body. At this moment, it was tightly wrapped around the Clear Sky Lord's soul. However, the Clear Sky Lord's soul had the imprint of the Black Lotus, which made the situation a little troublesome. Even though she had entered, this was Mose's sea of consciousness. She could not destroy the Clear Sky Lord's soul for him, or she would hurt Mose's soul and sea of consciousness. At this moment, the only person who could destroy the Clear Sky Lord was Mose himself. Fengjiu, let's see how arrogant you can be when I take over his body. Ha 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 ha. The face that was filled with hostility was revealed. Sinister laughter rang out from his mouth and reverberated in the sea of consciousness. Fengjiu did not move. She only looked at him quietly. She curled her lips and said, "Is that so? Do you think he's that easy to take over? Right now, he's only in a deep slumber, but he can still trap you. Do you think you have that chance?" Her voice became gentle and indifferent. She continued unhurriedly, "You're hiding here, but your descendants won't be as lucky as you. With my current strength and abilities, they'll fall into my hands even if they flee to the ends of the earth. Tell me, how do you think they should die then? Skin them alive and pull out their tendons? Or grind their bones to dust? Or perhaps, his divine soul was destroyed, never to be reincarnated? Her voice rang out slowly. However, the coldness and killing intent in her voice were so shocking that it made one's heart tremble. If they end up in that state, do you think they'll be grateful to you? Or will they hate you? Her voice rang out faintly. It was like a demonic voice that disturbed his emotions, causing his soul to become unstable. He shouted crazily, "Shut up! Stop talking! Stop talking!" His mind was in chaos. His soul became even more unstable, and the aura of his soul weakened. No! The weakening of his spirit caused him to cry out in fear. He felt the dragon chi of the azure dragon tightly binding him like an immortal rope. He didn't even have the chance to struggle. Moreover, the sleeping Xianyuan Moses' spirit was too powerful. His spirit, which wanted to devour Xianyuan Moses' spirit, was slowly being devoured. This knowledge caused him to feel fear from the bottom of his heart. No! I'll succeed. I'll succeed. He to kill Xianyuan Moses to kill him. And Moses' azure dragon's chi. And Mose. To Moses' soul. The azure dragon's azure chi. As soon as she left Mose's consciousness, she retreated and spat out a mouthful of blood. Hearing the commotion in the room, Du Fan and the others who were guarding the door were shocked. They quickly pushed the door open and ran in. "Master!" They saw Fengjiu holding the table with one hand and wiping the blood from the corner of her mouth with the other. They quickly helped her to sit down. "Master, how are you?" Chapter 50-98. She caught her breath and sat down by the table. She looked at Mose on the bed and said, "The clear sky sovereign's soul is hidden in Moses' sea of consciousness." What? Ingyi was shocked. His expression changed completely. Du Fan had already guessed it. His heart sank when he heard her say that. He asked, "Master, do you have a way to find him and destroy him?" Fengjiu shook her head and said slowly, "I didn't find anything strange when I checked his pulse earlier. The clear sky sovereign should have hidden himself. This caused such a commotion because he wanted to devour Moses' soul and take over his body. However, he underestimated Moses' strength. He failed to devour Moses' soul and is now trapped by the chi of the azure dragon." She paused and looked at Mose on the bed. She said, "The clear sky sovereign is hidden in his sea of consciousness. No one can help him now. The only one who can destroy the clear sky sovereign is himself." But the Black Lotus. Qigong frowned slightly. He was rather worried. Fengjiu sighed softly and said, "That's what I'm worried about. If Moses' soul devours the clear sky sovereign's soul, the Black Lotus will probably be branded in his soul. However, if he doesn't devour his soul, his body will be taken over. The only outcome is death." "Is there no other way?" Bai Xiao could not help but ask. Fengjiu shook her head. "Let's wait and see first. Let's wait until he gets through this." As she said that, her gaze fell on Mose on the bed. She then instructed Qi Kong and the others beside her, "I'll keep watch here. You guys go do what you need to do. I'm afraid the outcome won't be decided in a short period of time." "Yes." They responded and left the room. Qi Kong and the others left first. However, Du Fan and Ingyi remained in the courtyard to keep watch. Because they knew the situation here, Guan Shilin, Luo Yu, and the others came over the next day after they finished their work in the spirit region of the East Sea. Other than them, the injured Yi Feifei and Qin Xian were also sent over by them. Their injuries were rather serious. Even with Fan Lin's treatment and pills, they had not recovered in a short period of time. However, everyone was here, so it was convenient to take care of them. Guan Shilin strode in. Seeing Du Fan and Ingyi in the courtyard, he asked, "Why are the two of you guarding here? How's Mose? Is he awake?" "Not yet," Du Fan said. We're all here. We've finished dealing with the matters in the East Sea. We thought that since Master is here, we all came over. If there's anything, we can discuss it together. Luo Yu said. He looked at them and asked, I heard from Qi Kong that the heavenly monarch spirit is hidden in the Yama Lord's Sea of Consciousness. How's the situation now? Is there a result? No. Ying Yi said. He looked at the tightly shut door with worry in his heart. This old fart is quite bold. He actually wants to possess Master's body. Master is so powerful. Even if there's no result now, he'll definitely die in the end. Chapter 5099. She's been inside since she returned yesterday. We asked earlier, but Master said that there's no need. If she's inside, she can handle it immediately if anything happens. Du Fan said. Seeing that Ling Shuang was also there, she said, Ling Shuang, go and ask the kitchen to prepare something that Master likes to eat. Master hasn't eaten anything since yesterday. Okay, Ling Shuang replied, then turned and left. Oh right, how are Fei Fei and Qin Xian? Du Fan looked at Fan Lin and asked. We've already settled them down. Their injuries are quite serious, and they're all internal injuries. Even if they ate pills, they probably won't recover so quickly, Fan Lin said. Thinking of their injuries, he couldn't help but say, fortunately, Master left us a lot of pills back then. Otherwise, it would be impossible for them to survive with such injuries. There was almost no chance of survival from a monarch's all-out attack. Fortunately, they went over in time and treated them in time. As they spoke, the door opened and Feng Jiu walked out. Xiao Jiu. Guan Shilin saw her come out and hurried forward. Seeing that she didn't look too good, he comforted her. Don't worry too much. Mose will be fine. That Haotian monarch won't be able to snatch him away. Yes, Master. Yama Lord will definitely be fine. He's a person blessed by the heavens. He'll definitely be fine. Yes, Master. Don't worry. Yama Lord will wake up sooner or later. Master, you have to believe in Yama Lord. He'll definitely defeat Haotian monarch. Seeing that they were all comforting her, as if they were afraid that she would be too worried, she couldn't help but smile. I know. I came out to tell you that Haotian monarch's soul has been swallowed by Mose. Moreover, because he swallowed the power of his soul, Mose's soul has become even stronger now. Hearing that, everyone was stunned, then they cheered. That's great. I knew that Master would be fine. As expected of the Yama Lord. Ha ha ha, my Master is the best. Everyone laughed happily and felt happy from the bottom of their hearts. There was no other reason. Originally, it was because Mose was still asleep. If he was awake, even 10 Haotian monarchs wouldn't be his match. However, it was hard to say when he was asleep. Therefore, when they heard this news, they were relieved and happy. Du Fan was calmer. Moreover, he had heard from his master that if the Yama Lord swallowed the Clear Sky Sovereign's soul, the Black Lotus would stay in the Yama Lord's soul. Hence, at this moment, he looked at Feng Jiu and asked, Master, what about the Black Lotus? What about the Black Lotus? Would be. It wasn't easy to erase a soul imprint. Feng Jiu's smile faded, and he said, Just as I thought, the ancient Black Lotus is also imprinted on his soul. However, this Black Lotus isn't in full bloom, and its power is weaker. We'll think of a way to erase it after he wakes up. That was the only way now. There was no other way. Chapter 5100. Feng Jiu shook his head and said, It's hard to say, but it shouldn't be too long. She paused, looked at Fan Lin and asked, How are Qin Xian and Fei Fei? I just heard you say that they are not in good condition. Are they awake now? Qin Xian is awake, but Fei Fei is still in a coma. Fan Lin said. Take me to see them. She motioned. Hearing this, Fan Lin couldn't help but pause and said, Master, don't you want to have a rest? Your body. It doesn't matter. She interrupted him, waved her hand, and said to Ying Yi and Hui Lang, You two stay here. I'll be there in a while. Yes. the two answered. After watching her leave with Fan Lin, they thought for a while and opened the door to see their master. The enchantment in the room had not been removed. Master was sleeping quietly on the bed, and the aura on his body had been restrained. Seeing Guan Xilin and others who came in with a serious face, Du Fan said, "Yama Lord is fine now. Master also said that he will wake up soon. Don't worry too much." "That's right. But the Black Lotus is now in his body. I don't know what will happen when he wakes up," Guan Xilin said, frowning slightly. Everyone was silent and didn't speak for a while. They stayed in the room for a while and then went out. On the other side, Fengjiu came to a wing room in the guest house. Qin Xian was sleeping in the inner room. When she heard the sound, she opened her eyes. When she saw Fengjiu, she struggled to sit up. "Master, just lie down." Fengjiu stepped forward and motioned her not to move. Then he sat down by the bed. "Master, I didn't expect to see you again. I'm really happy." Qin Xian smiled. She was so excited that her internal injury was affected. Cold sweat oozed out of her forehead and her face became paler. Fengjiu said with a smile, "I said that I would come back, but I didn't expect that it would be a few years later." Then he moved her hand to the bed and said, "Let me check your pulse and see how serious your injury is." While speaking, he put his finger on her pulse and checked her body. After a while, he withdrew his hand and said, "It's really serious and the 5 organs are damaged. Master, don't worry. I've already taken the medicine. The rest, I just need to recuperate slowly." Qin Xian said softly, "Fei, I heard from Fan said that she hasn't woken up yet." "Well, I know. I'll go to see her later." Then she looked to Fei to Fan. And Fei, Fan to say Fei to go and let her have to lean to rest. Seeing this, Fengjiu glanced at him and said with a smile, "You go out first. I'm going to take off her clothes and treat her." Hearing this, Fan Lin helped Qin Xian to sit up and asked, "Master, do you need me to ask Ling Shuang to come in and help?" "No need," Fengjiu said. "Well, then I'll go out and wait. If Master needs anything, just call me." Fan Lin looked at Qin Xian and then went out. Chapter 5101. Hearing these words, Qin Xian's beautiful face, which was originally pale, was suffused with a faint blush. She said softly, "Master, Qin Xian didn't think about those things. Qin Xian just wants to be by Master's side all the time." Fengjiu chuckled and said, "If you marry Fan Lin, you will still be by my side. It's not like you will be marrying far away." While speaking, she pierced a silver needle into the acupoint on her back and said, "You have blood clots in your body. I will use a silver needle to help you dissolve the blood clots and then treat you. You will recover faster." Qin Xian's forehead was oozing cold sweat. She only felt that when the silver needle pierced into her acupoint, the pain was a little piercing and painful, with a trace of soreness and numbness. She couldn't help but bite her lower lip and endure the pain. After Fengjiu helped her dissolve the blood clots, she used the qi of Qing Lian to treat her. After about half an hour, she withdrew her hand, exhaled softly, and asked, "How do you feel? Do you still feel pain in your chest when you breathe heavily?" "Much better. Thank you, Master." Qin Xian felt a lot more relaxed. The previous feeling of pain when she moved a little had disappeared. Even her breathing was much smoother. She couldn't help thanking her. "Well, you will be fine after 2 more days of recuperation. I will go and see Fei." She got out of bed. After seeing Qin Xian gather her clothes, she turned and walked out. Fan Lin saw her coming out and said, "Master, you have been tired." Hearing this, Fengjiu smiled and glanced at him. "You go in and see her. Fei will be fine when I go there." With that, she walked to another side room. Seeing this, Fan Lin quickly walked into the side room. Seeing Qin Xian preparing to get out of bed, he said, "Why did you get out of bed? Go back and lie down." "Master, help me treat. I feel much better. I want to see Fei." Qin Xian said, glanced at him, and said, "Why did you come in? Why don't you stay by Master's side and see if Feifei needs help?" Fan Lin smiled and said, "I wanted to come in to see you, and then go to Feifei's place to take a look. It's just for a while, it won't delay things." "I'll go with you." She felt that her body had recovered 80%, and she had no problem getting out of bed and walking around. Fan Lin looked at her. Seeing that her complexion was much better than before, he nodded and walked out with her. Arriving at Feifei's room, he saw that his master was already taking her pulse. Fan Lin stepped forward and said, "Master, I fed Feifei a medicinal pill, but it only eased her condition a little. She hasn't woken up since she fell into a coma. Moreover, her chest was shattered, and her internal organs were damaged. Fortunately, she was treated in time. Otherwise, ordinary people wouldn't be able to survive under such circumstances." Fengjiu nodded and said, "Her injuries are indeed very serious." She turned to look at Fan Lin and said, "Prepare a hot medicinal bath, I will treat her." "I don't know what medicinal herbs Master needs to boil?" Fan Lin asked. He didn't know what medicine she needed for the medicinal bath. Fengjiu came to the table, took out a brush and ink, wrote a prescription and handed it to him, saying, "Take this medicine and boil it. After boiling it, let Leng Shuang come over." "Master, I'm much better now. I can come and help," Qin Xian said. Fengjiu shook her head and said, "You haven't fully recovered yet. After going back, let Fan Lin prescribe some medicine for you. You need to recuperate for 2 days. During these 2 days, stay in bed and rest well." Chapter 5102. After instructing Fan Lin to prepare the medicinal bath, he busied himself until it was late at night. When Fengjiu left Feifei's room, he couldn't help but rub his neck and hands. He almost didn't rest for the whole day. From Mo Zhe's matter to Qin Xian and Feifei's injuries, the whole day had passed just like that. Fortunately, after tonight's treatment, Feifei was about 60 to 70% better. If he treated her again tomorrow, she would be about 70 to 80% better. "Master, drink a bowl of soup first." Ling Shuang came in with a bowl of hot soup and said, "Master, after drinking the soup, take a hot bath and rest early. Yama Lord, we will watch over here." Fengjiu smiled and said, "Okay." After a tiring day, he couldn't eat anything else. After drinking a bowl of stewed soup, he took a hot bath under Ling Shuang's arrangement. In the past, Fengjiu didn't need anyone to wait on him when he took a bath. Today, seeing that it was already so late and that he was rubbing his neck from time to time, Ling Shuang stayed. "Master, I'll help you massage your shoulders." Fengjiu leaned against the hot water bucket and didn't let him go out. Instead, he closed his eyes and lazily responded, "Okay." The comfortable massage made her whole body relax. With the hot water soaking, she felt a burst of comfort all over her body. She still closed her eyes and leaned against the bucket, saying lazily, "Leng Shuang, I didn't know you had this technique. It's so comfortable." Hearing this, Ling Shuang's lips revealed a faint smile and said, "I learned it from Qin Xian. She said that this technique can make people relax and can also loosen their muscles and bone. These few years, Master wasn't here and I didn't have much to do, so I learned a little from her." "Master, are you doing well in the immortal realm? We haven't heard from you in the past few years, and we miss you very much. Nowhere is peaceful. Back when I ascended, the 4 great sovereigns from the upper immortal plane had wanted to kill me. However, after I ascended, I wanted to deal with them as well. Only, they chose to hide far away. In recent years, there have been no movements or news from them. However, I did manage to kill one of the great sovereigns and take over his territory," Fengjiu said unhurriedly. "All these years in the upper immortal realm, although Emochen is also an upper immortal, we haven't seen each other many times. I've always been thinking about you guys in the lower immortal realm. In order to break this void enchantment, I spent a few years." Speaking up to here, she smiled and opened her eyes. Her eyes were overflowing with light as she said, "I directly came down from my immortal island. I don't think anyone knows. They definitely wouldn't have thought that I would be able to return." Saying this, she paused and turned her head slightly to look at Ling Shuang. She smiled and asked, "Ling Shuang, do you want to go to the upper immortal realm?" Ling Shuang was slightly startled. He looked at her and said, "I only hope to stay by Master's side and serve you. To me, the upper immortal realm and the lower immortal realm are the same. Ling Shuang wants to go wherever Master is." Hearing this, Feng Jiu chuckled and said, "You guys have been by my side for so many years. Since I've ascended, I naturally won't forget you guys. Now that I've broken the void enchantment and found a way to connect, I can naturally bring you guys to the upper immortal realm." She smiled and leaned over the bucket. "However, before we leave, I have to reorganize everything here." Chapter 5103. Feng Jiu got up from the water. After wiping herself clean, she put on her clothes and went to check on Moze. Seeing that he was still sleeping, she removed the barrier and said to the Ling Shuang behind her, "You can leave. I'll rest here tonight." Hearing this, the Ling Shuang responded and left, closing the room. Feng Jiu came to the bedside and gently caressed Moze's sleeping face. She softly called out, "Ah Zhe, I'm back. Do you know? I'm right here. When are you going to wake up?" Her hand moved down from his face and landed on his chest. She gently opened his clothes and looked at the black lotus imprinted on his chest that hadn't bloomed yet. She silently sighed. Her green lotus was the chaotic green lotus and also the green lotus of creation. Although she had encountered many dangers when she first obtained the green lotus, she had managed to overcome them all along. Emo Chun had almost died because of her. It was because of the ancient golden lotus that he reconstructed his immortal body and was able to ascend and obtain a new life. Even though he had experienced life and death, he was now an almighty saint emperor. However, the red lotus was in Yu-Er's body. She had sealed it together with her life flame. She was afraid that she wouldn't be able to bear it due to her young age. As for this black lotus, no matter which immortal cultivator it fell into, that person would eventually die. Now that it was imprinted on Moze, she really didn't know what would happen when he woke up. She softly sighed and gently laid down beside him. She nestled against him and wrapped her arm around his waist. Looking at the pleasant sleeping face in front of her, she raised the corner of her lips and revealed a faint smile. "Ah Zhe, I haven't seen you for a few years. You seem to have become more handsome. You're pleasing to the eye no matter how I look at you. Don't you think so?" She softly whispered. Because he was by her side and she was really tired these past few days, she unknowingly fell into a deep sleep. Moze, who was in a deep sleep, seemed to have heard her words as the finger by his side twitched slightly deep into the night. The courtyard was extremely quiet. In the room, the luminous pearls emitted a soft light that scattered into the room. One could faintly see two figures hugging each other as they slept on the bed in the inner room behind the gauze curtain. The next day, Feng Jiu slept until noon. Guan Shilin and the others also knew that she was exhausted these 2 days, so no one came to disturb her. They just waited in the front yard for her to wake up. Ever since she came back, they hadn't been able to sit down and talk to her properly. How was she these past few years in the upper immortal realm? How did she get back here? Questions were swirling in their minds, and they were only waiting for answers to their questions. When Feng Jiu walked out of her room after washing up, she was led to the front yard by Guan Shilin, who was wandering outside the courtyard. "Why is everyone here?" Feng Jiu sat down at the head of the table and looked at them with raised eyebrows. "Hey, Xiaojiu, you know that we have a lot of questions to ask you. But, are you hungry? Do you want to eat something first?" Guan Shilin asked and sat beside her. "No need." Feng Jiu smiled and looked at them, saying, "I know what you want to ask. It's rare for us to sit down and talk, so let's have a good chat." Chapter 5104. Hearing this, Feng Jiu smiled and said, "Ever since I ascended, I have a celestial island in the upper immortal realm. In the past few years, I have been doing a lot of things. A few years ago, I wanted to crack the secret of the void enchantment and see if there was a way to connect the two realms. I have been researching for a few years now. She knew that they all wanted to know about her situation in the upper immortal realm, so she told them everything that had happened in the past few years. As they chatted, the whole afternoon passed by. It's already so late. Xiaojiu, let's eat first. We have been talking for so long. You haven't eaten anything for the whole day, Guan Shilin said as he ordered the servants to prepare the meal. Everyone should have received the news of Master's return this time. Those who are familiar with Master will probably come soon. Du Fan said as he looked at Feng Zhou and asked, Master, how long do you plan to stay here? When they come, do you want to meet them? Feng Zhou smiled and said, since he's an acquaintance, I naturally have to meet him. Moreover, I won't be going back for a while. I'm going to choose a place to set up a teleportation formation. When the time comes, I'll be able to teleport to the upper immortal realm through the teleportation formation I set up. As she said this, she looked at everyone and smiled. This time, even if you don't have the strength to ascend, I can still bring you to the upper immortal realm. That's great. This way we can follow Master again. Luo Yu smiled and his face was full of excitement. Qi Kong pondered for a moment and said, Master, if we all go to the upper immortal realm, what will happen to the various heaven realms and territories below? I am worried that if we all leave, the lower immortal realms will be in chaos. Now, they were in charge of several heaven realms. Because of them, the sovereigns of various heaven realms did not dare to act rashly. If it were not for this incident, they would have been safe and sound. However, if they left, they did not know what would happen. Hearing this, Feng Zhou took a sip of tea and moistened her throat. She said, Actually, I plan to. You are the leaders of the 8 great Phoenix Guards. Since you all have the ability to be independent, it doesn't matter if you follow me or not. Moreover, you all are in charge of various heaven realms. If you don't take care of them, you will not be able to find suitable people in a short time. She paused and continued, I think that you all can stay here. Ling Shuang and the others can follow me to the upper immortal realm. When the time comes, I set up a transmission array here, and the 2 places can be directly teleported back. There, you all don't have to follow me. You don't have to be with me. What do you think? Hearing this, Qi Kong and the others paused and looked at each other. Master had supported them to the position of sovereigns in the heaven realms in order to let them guard a region. If they left now, it was true that they would not be able to find a replacement in a short time. Moreover, it was impossible to just wash their hands of some things. For a moment, they all fell silent. Chapter 5105. So Master doesn't plan to take us to the immortal realm? Luo Yu said faintly. Compared to his previous enthusiasm, he seemed a little depressed at this moment. You can come with me or stay. You can go wherever I need you. She smiled, stood up and said, In fact, I also need some people to mobilize in the immortal realm, so I must take Du Fan, Ling Hua, and Ling Shuang with me. As for the rest of you... She paused and said, You can stay here and guard first. After a while, you can go up after making sure that everything is calm. She looked at Guan Shilin and asked, Brother, are you going to the immortal realm? Guan Shilin laughed and said, I can go anywhere. But I thought that my adoptive father and grandfather are all here, and you don't live here, so I'll live next to them. If anything happens, I can take care of them. Hearing this, Feng Zhou nodded, came to his side and patted him on the shoulder and said, I haven't been by their side all these years. Thank you for taking care of them for me. She knew that the Feng family's old mansion was the place where the Feng family lived for generations. Her grandfather and the others were reluctant to leave, and they would not be willing to leave now. Moreover, she also had her own plans. She felt that it was actually quite good for them to stay in the Feng family's old mansion. At least there would be no danger or trouble. A normal life was what people yearned for the most. We're family, don't be so polite. Who are we? He laughed and stood up and said, Okay, I think the food is ready. Let's go eat first. We can talk whenever we want. Let's go. At this time, Ling Shuang stepped forward and said, I see that the sky is good tonight, so I asked someone to put dinner in the garden. Okay, then let's go to the garden. Fengjiu said with a smile and walked out with them. The news of Fengjiu's return seemed to have grown wings, flying to all the regions of the heaven realm. Not long after, everyone received the news. Just as Du Fan had expected, her close friends had also rushed over from all over the country, wanting to see her. On this day, after Fengjiu helped Mo Zhe wipe his body, Ling Hua came to report. Master, Monarch Xianwu is here to see you. Him? Fengjiu raised her eyebrows and sneered. He's here for How'er, right? She walked to the stone table in the courtyard and sat a stone of the courtyard. She took a sip and said, How's back, I don't see him. She couldn't stand How'er's biological parent. Back then, she had single-handedly raised the child and reluctantly sent him back to them. However, they didn't treat him well and instead made him suffer. Now, they still dared to come to her door? Yes. Ling Hua replied and turned to leave. Guan Shilin walked in and said, Xiaojiu, I heard that Monarch Xianwu is here? You didn't see him? No. Fengjiu shook her head and said, When I brought How'er back, I told them that How'er had nothing to do with them. Without How'er, what right does he have to let me see him? Guan Shilin sat down at the table and said, In the past few years, he has been to the Feng family's old residence a few times. My adoptive father said that he wanted to ask about How'er. Chapter 5106. Alright, let's not talk about him. I received news from my adoptive father that Feng Yi and Zhao Yang are here. We haven't seen each other for many years, so they wanted to meet you, Guan Shilin said. Oh? The two of them? Fengjiu was slightly startled, then smiled and said, Speaking of which, I haven't seen them for many years. Feng Yi, that little uncle of hers. After not seeing him for so many years, he was probably also a handsome young man. I'm really looking forward to it. I haven't seen Feng Yi for so many years, I wonder what he looks like now? She chuckled and looked at Guan Shilin, asking, The two of them aren't with their master anymore, right? No, they've been traveling around for the past 2 years. Guan Shilin smiled and said, Because of you, most people don't dare to accept them as disciples. Moreover, the two of them are extremely talented. I estimate that they'll catch up with us in a few years. I see. She murmured softly. No one knew what she was thinking, but her fingers tapped lightly on the table. If grandfather and the others are willing, I can let them travel to the immortal world. Master, Luo Fei and the others are here. Ling Hua came in to report. He paused, then said, Monarch Black Tortoise refused to leave. He's been waiting outside, saying that he wants to see Master. Don't worry about him. If he wants to wait, let him wait. Fengjiu said, then asked, Where are Luo Fei and the others? Du Fan and Bai Xiao are waiting in the front hall, saying that they don't want to disturb the Yama Lord's rest, Ling Hua said. Fengjiu nodded and said, All right, I'll go and see them. Hui Lang and Ying Yi can stay here and guard the room. Thus, she went to the front yard with them. In the front yard, Luo Fei and the others were waiting excitedly and said, How many years has it been since we last saw her? I didn't expect her to come back after she ascended. When I first heard the news, I thought it was fake news. Ning Lang also laughed and said, That's right. I even sent a message over to ask for confirmation. Only then did I know that she really came back. Duan Yi sat upright. He was dressed in luxurious black robes, and his entire person exuded a mature aura. However, at this moment, he was also faintly nervous and excited. From time to time, he would drink tea. In this short period of time, the maidservant had already refilled his tea twice. To them, Fengjiu was both a teacher and a friend. She was also an important guide in their lives. Back then, when they were still young, they were lucky to have met her and received her guidance. That was how they became who they were today. I didn't expect to see her again. It's been so many years, I wonder if she's still the same? Duanyi said as he looked out of the hall from time to time. Song Ming smiled and said, after so many years, Fengjiu is still Fengjiu. She must be even more magnificent than before. Du Fan looked at them with a smile and said, Leng Hua has already gone to the backyard to invite Master over. When you see her later, you'll know if she's still the same as before. Du Fan, have many people come to visit during this period of time? When we first came in, we even saw the sovereign of the Black Tortoise waiting outside. Why was he turned away? Song Ming asked with slight surprise. Chapter 5107. Hearing this, the few people who wanted to ask more questions immediately looked outside the hall. When they saw the familiar figure slowly walking in, they couldn't help but stand up as well. They saw that the red figure was still as dazzling as in their memories. The familiar face and figure made them feel excited. Fengjiu! They called out in unison, and a smile appeared on their faces. Long time no see. How are you all? Fengjiu walked in with a smile. She looked at the four of them and nodded. Not bad. I haven't seen you for a few years. You seem to have matured a lot. You're still the same. You haven't changed much, Duanyi said. No. You've changed. You've become more outstanding and reserved. Song Ming smiled and looked at her. Indeed, even though Fengjiu was still the Fengjiu they were familiar with, after so many years, they had all grown up. She had also grown up. She was no longer the mischievous and cunning girl. The precipitation of time had made her more elegant and reserved. We didn't expect to see you again. When we heard that you were back, we put down what we were doing and rushed over, Ning Lang said with a smile. He looked at her and said, Fengjiu, it's so good to see you. Yes, it's so good to see you, Luo Fei said. Hearing this, Fengjiu smiled and gestured for them to sit down. She said, I'm also very happy to see you all again. Speaking of which, it's better here. My familiar family and friends are all here. I just came back and all of you came to see me. When familiar friends gathered together, there was a lot of laughter. After sitting down, everyone chatted casually. Not long after, another burst of laughter came from outside. I knew it would be lively here. Listen, am I right? Wanyan Xinhua's voice came from outside. He seemed to be talking to someone. Hearing the voice, Fengjiu was slightly surprised. When she got up and walked out, she saw her sister and someone she hadn't seen for a long time. It was Wanyan 17. Ha, Fengjiu, do you still remember me? Wanyan 17 laughed heartily as he strode in. How could I forget you? Fengjiu chuckled and said, It's true that we haven't seen each other for a long time. Then, he looked at Wanyan Qianhua and asked, Sister, why did you come with him? I just went back to the Wanyan family and heard the news that you came back, so I wanted to come and see you. 17th uncle came with me. Wanyan Qianhua chuckled and glanced around. He saw many familiar faces and said, It seems that they all came to see you when they heard the news of your return. They've also just arrived. Come, have a seat inside. Fengjiu invited them in, while Luo Fei and the others stepped forward to greet them, and followed them in. Compared to the liveliness and laughter inside, the expression of the Black Tortoise monarch, who was rejected outside the residence, was somewhat gloomy. He knew that Fengjiu wouldn't necessarily see him this time, but he didn't expect that she would leave him here like this. To think that as a monarch, he was rejected outside the door. With such an awkward situation, it wasn't good to leave in a huff, but it wasn't good to leave in a huff either. He was in a dilemma. In the end, it was his mistake back then. If it weren't for what happened back then, he wouldn't have been treated so coldly today. Chapter 5108. Due to the arrival of many old friends and relatives, the manor was very lively these 2 days. However, Mo Zhe had not woken up yet. On this day, Feng Jiu and the others had just stepped out of the door when the Black Tortoise Sovereign, who had been waiting outside for a few days, quickly walked over. Phoenix Master. He stepped forward and bowed. He looked at her as if he wanted to say something but hesitated. Seeing that he was still here, Feng Jiu stopped and said to the people around her, "Go to the restaurant first. I'll be there in a while." After they left, she looked at the Black Tortoise Sovereign and asked, "Is there anything else? I want to see how However, there hasn't been any news of him these few years, so. He looked at Feng Jiu hesitantly. "Did Monarch Black Tortoise forget what I said when I took Hao away from you so quickly?" She looked at him, and her voice was indifferent as she said, "From today onwards, you have no right to question or care about Hao-Er's matters. Moreover, he isn't by my side now. I sent him and my 2 children to be apprenticed to a master many years ago. Not to mention you, even I can't see him even if I wanted to." The Black Tortoise Sovereign was slightly startled and asked, "May I know who Hao-Er's master is?" Feng Jiu smiled and looked at him. She said, "I won't tell you who his master is. For the safety of the children, I keep their whereabouts a secret." She continued to walk forward. When she passed by him, she paused and said, "Don't come here in the future, and don't ask about him. When he grows up, if he still wants to acknowledge you, I won't stop him. But for now, I won't let you disturb his state of mind and hinder his cultivation." With that, she did not say anything else. She got into the carriage and went to the restaurant. The Black Tortoise Sovereign listened and stood there in a daze. No one knew what he was thinking. After a long time, he sighed deeply and turned to leave. At the restaurant, at the request of Wanyan Qianhua and the others, Feng Jiu came out to meet them today. This was also the first time she went out on the streets since she came back. Over the past few days, under the management of Qi Kong and the others, the situation had gradually stabilized. In some places where there were no monarchs, they were under Feng Jiu's orders to promote talents to take charge of areas. On the other hand, the Heavenly Dan building was destroyed. Originally, Qi Kong and the others wanted to rebuild it, but Feng Jiu said that there was no need. After entering the restaurant, they went up to the 2nd floor and sat down near the window. Feng Jiu looked in the direction of the city gate and said with a smile, "We can see the city gate from here. If Feng Yi and the others come, we can also meet them here." Feng Yi and Zhao Yang said they would arrive today, so they should be here soon. "Let's chat and wait here," Guan Shilin said with a smile, and ordered the dishes to be served. Everyone drank, ate, and chatted. Not far from the restaurant, there were many people craning their necks to watch. However, even though they wanted to see Feng Jiu, they did not dare to disturb her. Luo Fei and the others were telling Feng Jiu about what had happened in the past few years. Now, they had taken over everything in their families and even expanded their family business and power. It could be said that they had developed very well. "Oh right, I got married before the new year," Song Ming said with a smile. Chapter 5109. She's just an ordinary girl from an aristocratic family. She's a family friend of mine. We've known each other since we were young, Song Ming said with a smile, and when I got married, they already sent gifts on your behalf. Hearing this, Feng Jiu smiled and looked at Luo Fei, Duan Yi and Ning Lang. She asked, "What about you 3? We're still young, he. Ning Lang grinned and said, "And I don't want to marry anyone. I just want to expand my family's business. I don't think about anything else." "We don't want to get married too early," Duan Yi and Luo Fei said at the same time. "What's so good about getting married? It's better to be alone. Someone like me is the most carefree." Wanyan Shursan raised his wine cup and drank it. He laughed loudly and said, "Look at Junjishang, that otherworldly person. What's he like after getting married? He's taking care of his children at home now." "What's wrong with my husband?" Wanyan Qianhua glanced at him and looked at him with a charming smile. "My husband is a good man that's hard to come by in 100 years. 13th uncle, if you dare to say anything bad about him again, I won't forgive you. Yes, yes. Only your man is a treasure. Everyone else is grass. Wanyan Shan disagreed. Fengjiu couldn't help but chuckle when she heard this. She said, not to mention Junjushang, Mose also raised 3 children by himself back then. Besides, who said that men can't raise children? As she said this, she glanced at Wanyan Shan with a faint smile. Seeing her glance, Wanyan Shan laughed embarrassedly. No, no. Being able to raise children is the standard of a good man. Perhaps there were people who didn't believe that Fengjiu, who had ascended, had returned. However, when they saw her appear in the restaurant, they believed that she had really returned. As soon as the afternoon passed, 2 figures walked in from outside the city gate. When he saw the 2 figures, Guan Shilin couldn't help but smile. He said to Fengjiu, Xiao Jiu, look, they're here. At the same time, he stood up and waved towards the city gate, shouting, here. Fengjiu followed his gaze and saw Feng Yi in a purple robe. He had the appearance of an elegant, noble young master. His face had already matured, and he looked like the outstanding members of the Feng family. His entire person exuded a noble and unrestrained aura. Beside him was Zhao Yang, who was wearing a black robe. His aura was restrained and steady, and he carried a sword on his back. Although his face was not as handsome as Feng Yi's, he was resolute and tough. Perhaps they heard the sound and looked over. When they faintly saw the red figure, excitement and joy appeared in their eyes. They looked at each other and directly rushed forward. Xiao Jiu. Feng Yi directly jumped up and landed beside the table. He smiled at Fengjiu. Fengjiu raised her eyebrows and looked at Feng Yi with a faint smile. Feng Yi, are you itching for a beating? Jiu. Feng Yi showed a flattering smile and stepped forward. I haven't seen you for so many years. I miss you so much. While speaking, he moved a chair to her side and sat down. Sister Feng. Zhao Yang stepped forward and respectfully saluted her. Chapter 51:10. Okay, we've learned a lot during our travels. Our lives have been very fulfilling, Zhao Yang said. Zhao Yang said. Although his voice sounded calm, the excitement in his heart and the joy in his eyes could not be concealed. That's good. Fengjiu nodded, then looked at Feng Yi. The corners of his lips curled up slightly, and his voice was slightly raised. Little Uncle Feng Yi? Ha ha ha. Hearing this, Feng Yi's hair stood on end. He smiled embarrassedly and hurriedly said, Jiu, just call me Feng Yi. You don't have to call me little uncle. I'm getting goosebumps when I hear it. Although it was true that he was her little uncle in front of her, he did not have the slightest trace of an uncle's attitude. On the contrary, he had been in awe of her since they were young. Although his seniority was higher than hers, he was younger than her. Her calling him little uncle made his heart fluster. Since we're here, let's go back first. Fengjiu stood up and said to Wanyan Qianhua and the others, You can continue to sit here. I have to go back and see Mose. Okay, then you go back first. We'll go back later, Wanyan Qianhua said. Okay, Fengjiu responded, then looked at Feng Yi and Zhao Yang and said, You two come back with me. Okay. The two did not dare to say more and directly responded. After greeting everyone, they went back with Fengjiu. Du Fan, Ling Shuang, and Ling Hua also went back with them. As for the others, they stayed. They went back to the mansion first, and Fengjiu took them to see Mose. Then, she sat in the courtyard and asked them about what had happened over the years. After listening to their experiences over the years, she finally paused and said, Actually, when we came back this time, I planned to take you to the immortal realm to cultivate. What do you think? Hearing this, the two were slightly surprised and asked, Can we go? Yes, now that I've broken the void barrier, I've found a way to travel back and forth. As long as you want, I can bring you up. Of course, I'll need grandfather and the others to agree. Fengjiu looked at the two and said, Both of you are extremely talented. Even in the immortal world, you can be considered dragons and phoenixes among men. If you go up to cultivate, it will only be better for you. Hearing this, the two of them looked at each other and said in unison, We want to go. Fengjiu smiled and said, Stay here for the next few days. In a few days, I will take you to the Feng family's old residence. All right. The two of them revealed looks of joy as they asked, Are the people from the immortal realm all very strong? Are they all very powerful? Some are strong and some are weak. The only difference is that some are born with a divine fetus, so they have a higher starting point than others, she said slowly. Seeing the two of them curious, she said, You'll know when you go there in the future. I'll ask Ling Shuang to tell the kitchen to make some food for you. Go back and have a good rest. Yes. The two of them answered and then followed Ling Shuang out. After they left, Du Fan asked, Master, the Yama Lord is still not awake. When the time comes, will we take him to the Feng family's old residence? Chapter 51:11. As she spoke, she couldn't help but sigh. I just don't know what will happen to the Black Lotus after he wakes up. Everything will be fine when it comes to it. Master need not worry too much. I hope so. She turned back to look at the room and strode in. She said to Ying Yi and Hui Lang who were guarding the room, You two go and rest. I'll take care of things here. The two of them looked at each other and said, Madam, we're not tired. Let us stand guard. They paused and said, We'll stand guard outside the room. As they spoke, they left the room and stood at the door. When Fengjiu saw this, she didn't say anything. She just sat down by the bed and looked at the unconscious Mose. She held his hand and said softly, Ah Zhe, hurry and wake up. The world's scenery is picturesque, but without your company, no matter how beautiful the scenery is, it will be in vain. When she finished speaking, the hand she was holding seemed to move slightly. She was startled and her face froze for a moment. She looked down and saw that his fingers didn't move at all. But just now, she clearly felt his fingers move. Aze, can you hear me? When her voice fell, she stared at the hand she was holding. Sure enough, she saw that the hand moved slightly again. Although it was a very small movement, it was undoubtedly a surprise to her. You really heard me. Are you regaining consciousness already? That's great. She couldn't help but smile. Immediately, she channeled her spiritual energy into her palm, and the energy of the green lotus was channeled into his body along with her. Perhaps it was because of the green lotus's energy, the black lotus on his chest didn't seem to dare to move. It was quietly branded there, without a trace of energy leaking out. This time, Fengjiu transferred the power of the green lotus until evening. She only stopped when the sky turned dark. Because she had used up too much of the power of the green lotus, a layer of sweat appeared on her forehead. With a flip of her hand, she took out an elixir from her space and swallowed it. Then, she helped Mose feel his pulse. She felt the strong beating of his pulse under her fingers and the corners of her lips curled up. That night, she leaned against his side and fell asleep until the next morning. The morning sun shone in from outside the window. The two people on the bed in the room snuggled up to each other, warm and peaceful. Xianyuan Mose felt as if he had slept for a long time. His eyelids were very heavy. He wanted to lift them, but couldn't. At this moment, he felt an itch on his face. It was as if a strand of hair on his face. He wanted to open his eyes to take a look or raise his hand to push the strand of hair on his face. His eyelashes fluttered gently like the fluttering of a butterfly. Not long after, his eyes, which had not been opened for several years, slowly opened at this moment. His consciousness gradually returned, especially the scenes before he lost consciousness and fell into darkness. The moment he opened his eyes, it was as if seawater had poured into his mind, causing him to quickly recall everything. He's still alive? At that moment, he was slightly startled, as if he had thought of something. His hand moved slightly and clenched into a fist. That feeling came from the palm of his hand, accompanied by a somewhat weak power, but it gave him a familiar feeling. Yes, he was still alive. Although he didn't know why, he was still alive. Chapter 51:12. The sunlight shone on her face, casting a shadow under her long eyelashes. Her peaceful and beautiful sleeping face, her complete dependence on him, made him want to lean over and kiss her delicate red lips. However, she woke up as soon as he moved slightly. "Aze!" Fengjiu instinctively jumped up and sat up. When she saw the person who was originally asleep had opened his deep black eyes, looking at her with a smile and deep affection, she could not help but be stunned. Her mind went blank for a moment, as if she could not react. "Did you go silly from joy?" Xianyuan Mose asked. His deep voice was hoarse, and there was a trace of a teasing smile. Perhaps she had slept for too long, but when she woke up, she felt her throat dry and her voice was hoarse. Fengjiu felt a lump in her throat. Looking at his smiling face, she tried her best to hold back the tears that were about to fall from her eyes. She threw herself on the bed and hugged him tightly. "Aze, you're finally awake. I missed you so much." Hearing her nasal voice, Xianyuan Mose's heart melted into a ball. His heart ached and he blamed himself. He hugged her with both hands and gently stroked her head with one hand. In a low voice, he said, "It's my fault I made you worry. It's good that you're awake, it's good that you're awake." As Fengjiu spoke, she seemed to remember something. She quickly withdrew from his embrace and sat by the bed. She asked nervously, "Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere?" Hearing this, Xianyuan Mose paused for a moment, then said, "I only feel like there's an extra force in my body, and my spirit has become much stronger." As he spoke, he sat up and felt that he was the same as before. It was as if there were no injuries on his body, and there was nothing wrong with him. On the contrary, he even felt that his strength had increased, and his spirit had become much stronger. Just as he was about to use his divine sense to check his body, he saw Fengjiu suddenly step forward and pull open his clothes, revealing his strong and firm chest muscles. His eyes flashed, and he raised his eyebrows slightly. He looked at her with a hint of teasing and said, "What do you want to see? Just tell me and I'll strip naked for you to see." Fengjiu wasn't in the mood to banter with him. After taking off his clothes, she saw that the black lotus on his sturdy chest was gone. She couldn't help but open her eyes wide and search his body. Where did he go? Where did he go? He watched as she tugged at his shirt. She looked at his chest, pulled down his shirt to check his back, and then looked at his arm as if she was looking for something. Seeing this, Xianyuan Mose could not help laughing and said, "What are you looking for? What do I have on me? What's gone?" "The black lotus, the ancient black lotus, was originally here on your chest, but now it's gone." Fengjiu raised his head to look at him, and said, "Use your divine soul to search, you should be able to find where that black lotus is hiding. It's branded in your divine soul, so it definitely can't run away." Hearing this, Xianyuan Mose was surprised. "Black lotus? You're talking about the black lotus from before?" "Yes, it's a long story. Look for it first and see if it's still there. I'll tell you the details later," Fengjiu said, holding his hand and looking at him worriedly. Chapter 51:13. Hearing her words and seeing the worry on her face, Mose nodded and said, "Don't worry, I'll look for it." With that, he closed his eyes and used his spirit to search his body. Fengjiu watched from the side. After a while, seeing him open his eyes, she hurriedly asked, "How is it?" Xianyuan Mose's eyes moved slightly. He looked at her and said, "There is indeed an ancient black lotus, but it's hidden in the corner of my spirit. It's not a fully bloomed black lotus, but a flower bud." "Hidden in the corner?" Fengjiu was slightly surprised. She was somewhat surprised. "Yes," Xianyuan Mose replied. He leaned against the bed and said, "If I didn't try to feel it, I almost couldn't sense its existence. However, what is going on? Why is there a black lotus in my body? And how long have I been asleep?" Hearing him say that the black lotus was hidden in the corner and did not have any negative effects on him, Fengjiu sighed in relief. Then she smiled and said, Then we have to start from when you failed to advance. She stood up and poured a cup of water for him. Then she said, "Drink some water to moisten your throat. I'll tell you slowly." Thus, the two of them sat on the bed and drank water. One of them sat on the bed and talked about the events of the past few years. She told him all the things that he did not know one by one. They talked until afternoon. "It's like this. I found that after you swallowed that spirit, the black lotus was branded in your heart. Seeing that you didn't wake up, I was worried that the black lotus would have some effect on you. But now that you're awake and the black lotus has no effect on you, I'm relieved." Fengju said and drank from his cup. "I see." He nodded and sighed softly. "I didn't expect that I would owe Tianjizi such a great favor. It's a pity that he's no longer here." Fengju stood up and said, "All right, let's not talk about anything else. We'll always remember his kindness. You just woke up, don't keep lying down. I'll get someone to prepare some food. I'll accompany you to the courtyard to bask in the sun." Then she smiled and said, "They'll be very happy to hear that you're awake." "Yes," he replied, the corners of his lips curling up slightly. After washing up, Fengju left the room. When the door opened, she saw Hui Lang and Ying Yi looking at her excitedly. "Madam, did Master wake up? We thought we heard you talking inside." "Yes, he's awake. Go in and take a look." She smiled and went to the courtyard. She Ling Shuang, "Master, have the kitchen staff prepare some porridge, make it bland and bring it here." "Okay," Ling Shuang replied. He was happy to hear that the Yama Lord had woken up. When Ling Shuang went to the kitchen, he met Ling Hua and Du Fan. He told them that the Yama Lord had woken up. Not long after, everyone in the residence heard the good news. "That's great. This time, Xiaoju doesn't have to worry anymore." Guan Shilin smiled and walked towards the main courtyard with Wanyan Qianhua and the others. When everyone was walking towards the main courtyard, a Phoenix Guard quickly came in to report to Qi Kong. When Qi Kong heard the Phoenix Guard's words, he couldn't help but be surprised. He called out, "Du Fan, Fan Lin, come with me.